You know, the interesting thing about communication is it's not a series of inputs and outputs because it's like it's like Bitcoins, right?
Oh my
Ever heard of them?
A little bit.
Yeah, I could tell you a few things because I consider myself an expert. I can't. That's a lot. But I am familiar enough to understand how the hashing algorithm works and think of communication in the same way, right? When I speak, it's not as simple as you hearing words and then understanding. There's a lot that goes on in between because really all this is sound waves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collection of sounds and you need to hear those and understand them as the same sounds I'm trying to make. And that's before you can even understand the content of the message.
Okay, so then I guess what you're trying to get at is that communication is more of a key and value pairing?
That's already over my head.
Because that's how Bitcoin works, right?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like communication is just like, it's just this art of making someone understand something. So I could literally point to something and that's communicating, look over there, or something's over there. That's without words at all.
Did you know that up to 70% of communication is nonverbal between humans interacting?
I didn't know there was a number for it. For me, it's more like 99.9% since I don't like talking to people. But
well, when you gave me the eyes when I first picked up the phone, see, I felt the connection.
Yeah, you read me. You see, there was communication without we had something. You know, we had a bond immediately made.
I felt it.
You felt it.
And then we shared tuna crackers.
It's true, over the
Together.
phone somehow, 500 miles away or something.
Soldier Boy style.
Okay, so how does someone measure 70% of communication being nonverbal?
It's actually pretty cool. They did a whole study and the researchers had targeted messages that they wanted the receivers to pick up on. Think about it's not the words, like you're not like I'm not looking at you and you're thinking book. It's like body language, it's emotions. Think about the difference between talking to somebody like we're doing or texting somebody. And think about how many things are miscommunicated over text.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's totally true.
It's because all of the communication, the non-verbal communication is missing over text.
Huh. That's totally true. Language.
That's why I always write, yeah. I'm joking after when I'm joking. Cause,
you have
I'm
to.
Not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if people will take my quote-unquote sense of humor at face value or understand I'm not serious. So I always make a clarification. It's like, I'm not serious. Please don't take this out of context.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes.
I almost wish we had a key on the keyboard to push the button. And that means that everything that came before that was sarcasm. You know what I mean? We have periods to end sentences. We have question marks to know questions. We need a punctuation mark that denotes sarcasm, I think.
Oh, I think that'd actually be really helpful because I use sarcasm a lot. Way too much.
You do?
Yeah.
That was sarcasm.
No.
This is This is like asking a child if they're tired. There's no right answer. Are you being sarcastic?
I guess you just have to find out eventually.
How do you convey to someone that you are being sarcastic?
That's tonal.
Yeah,
right?
Usually, I can't tell if it's just because my voice is relatively monotone, because even when I was exaggerating my sarcasm in high school, people would think I was being literal. There was a time I said, I put my head through, or no, someone said that I put my head through a mail slot, which is 2 inches wide, and my head is bigger than 2 inches. And someone said I put my head through that. And people went up to me. It's did you really put your head through the mail slot? I'm like, oh yeah, of course I put my head in the mail slot. And there's really? I'm like, oh, come on. It's no, I didn't. I did not, that awkward, no, I have to explain the joke.
You should have just gone with it. Yes, I did. Would you like to see it again? And then I'll do it with your head this time.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Do you know?
But they did tape up that mail slot. ever since then. That's an irrelevant story, so
What were you trying to put in the mail slot? that
no,
they
no.
had to
So the story was I was looking for a teacher, right? And I was like literally it was lunch period and I was running all over the school trying to find this teacher and I couldn't find it. And there was this one room that I was like, okay, I checked everywhere else. This is like the last place I can think that she would be in. And the door was locked and I knocked and no one showed up. But there's a mail slot conveniently there, so I just kind of lifted it up and I'm like, hello, and she was there.
So you poked your head through. I mean, I could see that as an expression.
I mean, but not at like literal, like they were thinking is like, did you really like slot your head through the slot? And I'm like, no, I didn't put my head through the mail slot. I literally just lifted it up and looked through.
You could have like Shining styled like, here's Johnny.
I could have,
Oh my
but
gosh.
the teacher did freak out. She was like, "Alex, what are you doing?" And I'm just like, "Oh, hi, Mrs. So and So. I was looking for you. I need you."
I was just checking this mail slot out to see if I could fit my head through it. Someone told me I probably couldn't, but I want to prove them wrong.
What is this? What is that show? The Daredevil show where they just do stupid stuff like jump off the
Jackass?
roof?
The Crown?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Wow, that's a big throwback. But
Are we allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Thank fucking God. Okay. I've been watching my mouth. I've been watching my mouth.
Yeah,
Suitable for all ages.
It's totally on you. Like whatever
What
you want.
this is not related to anything you've said, but like, why is swearing such a big deal?
That's a great question too. You have probably some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I don't have any. I'm actually curious, like he is. I don't know why swearing is such a like frowned upon thing.
What are your thoughts on swearing? Why is it a big deal?
Yeah. I wanted to ask, like, oh, did Pete tell you I don't swear?
No, he
Yeah,
didn't.
he doesn't. He doesn't.
You
at
like
all.
never swear.
I'm like the
No, I have,
cardinal
but
opposite.
it's usually reserved for like genuine fits of rage where I'm like actually like 110% angry. And I'll like mutter it to myself, but like it'll be audible, so technically that counts.
I guess, yeah, that does count. You know, that's actually, it's good. That means you have a good vocabulary. Because that's what swearing is. Swearing is when you can't think of a better word. Think about swear words. They're all short. They end in hard sounds with the mouth. Good for
They're
speaking
catchy.
at loud volumes. They make
They're
sense.
catchy.
Fuck! You know what I mean? Like, it just feels good.
But they're catchy though.
They are catchy. And, well, they're also really easy to remember.
Yeah, that's true.
Aw.
Think, you speak Romanian, sir?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you know any Romanian curse words?
I feel like I do, but I never registered because English is my fluent language. So
That makes sense.
it's so much easier to curse in a not. For me, like I've cursed in foreign languages like out loud with no problem, with no guilt at all, because it's just like to me it's like that's not my language, so I don't care.
He's shamelessly cursing in Spanish, basically. I've seen it in
Not
action.
just Spanish, not Spanish, but I'm curious what like, because I don't swear because in my opinion there's no need for it, but at the same time I'm completely tolerant towards other people doing it because I'm like, who cares? But for me personally it's more like not a test per se, but if you swear every other word it kind of cheapens it a little bit. It's like that becomes your speech now. That's the way you talk. And to me, that sounds relatively uneducated. Like, that sounds like you couldn't say anything better. That's like the best you've got. I know that's not true because all my friends swear. I haven't had a friend who doesn't swear, but it's just, I don't know. It's a self-imposed limitation for me. It's like I don't need to swear to calm down or to communicate.
I kind of like that. Because it makes you more purposeful in your thought. You know what I mean? You're thinking about what you're going to... It's like trying to get rid of verbal tics from your speech. It makes you more conscious. You end up saying what you mean more.
Yeah. You ever have any verbal tics?
Oh, sure. Yeah, a few of them.
The like, of course, everyone has
Verbal
those.
tics can present themselves in a multitude of different ways. It really just could be short phrase or a couple words that you say a lot, like or like Doug and I have one together. They can be personal too. Doug and I talk a lot. We always say, oh sure, Same thing with Ben. And there's a few verbal tics that go on in this house that like you'd only pick up on if you hear them all the fucking time. Sorry, a little bit.
But I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. I feel that's just like routine. That's just how you like get along with each other. Because you said you do that in your house, but you probably don't do it a lot outside the house. So,
But what ends up happening, I feel like, with the verbal tics is that when you use them too much, you end up using these once funny phrases in ways that it doesn't really apply just to get a cheap, quick response out.
Oh yeah, it's like a buffer word. The way I like to think of it.
about what you actually
You
want to
can't-
say.
Yeah, you can't actually say what you're trying to say, so you need to fill the silence almost.
What are yours?
Like sometimes. Other than that, nothing. I actually really try to break the like and habit very hard. I'm so conscious of it, it's absurd.
I think that's good. Purposeful communication is key. Always. Always.
The look you just gave me.
Always.
This is the 70% rule right here.
yeah, I took a course about how to improve your communication, and the professor basically said we all have tics, and while they're like habitual, they are borderline second nature. He said that you should try exercising, like the next time you want to do a tic, you want to come with a thought, you should try and just like pause, like literally stop talking and think about what you're going to say. And it's going to be awkward and it's going to suck and you're going to feel like silly, but if you keep doing that, eventually you will grow into the habit of not resorting to a tic, and the pauses will get shorter and shorter.
What else did you learn in your communication class?
The communication was about like presenting and public speaking. So there were rules, like rule of 3, to use like 3 examples when you're trying to communicate a point. The rule of pause, where you should take respectable pauses when you speak rather than just make it a non-stop